Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martyn Warwick and we're here reporting from the ETSI NFV ISG. Quite a mouthful. It's about the standardization of network functions virtualization. For the past year and more now, TelecomTV has been reporting on the phenomenon that is NFV. The benefits from capex and opex savings through to the ability to permit the rollout of new services and applications at the speed of the net are crystal clear. We know about the potential benefits of NFV, but there are barriers to its adoption.
So I think from a technology perspective, the barriers are the availability, reliability factors that the carriers want to make sure. So that is one side where the technical community is working extremely hard to make sure we can deliver on this next generation scale out platform, the same availability, reliability paradigms that they're used to. I think those challenges are very well understood by the industry. And I think we have solutions that will come out later this year, early next year. So I think once the POCs finish, and as you said, as we go into widespread trial, I think those technology barriers will be gone.
I think the biggest one is complexity. This is new stuff, right? This is software network engineering. It's not putting a box in a rack. It's turning up a virtual machine, loading the virtual network functions, connecting them together in a software environment. That's not the same as cabling boxes. So in my mind, the biggest barrier is actually just network engineers need to somehow mesh with software engineers. And that's literally bringing together the IT industry and the network industry. And that is the key. But there are organizational barriers to that. So I would say that they are skills, their organization, and they are coming up with the product visions for service providers that will drive those organizational skill changes. And I think that the network engineers, in my long experience, network engineers have usually justified a new network technology on the basis of their own predictions of consumption. So for example, in my previous history as an optical access guy, and then after that I became a copper access guy, in that order, was all about what would drive investment in access networks if it wasn't to do with consumption of bandwidth, right? Yeah. So we in the networks domain actually put forward scenarios to products people about what would drive bandwidth so that we could then get them to demand deployment of access technologies, right? So that was a pretty simple game to play, yeah. But the numbers were huge, right? I mean, yeah. Access deployments cost billions of dollars. You need footprint. Yeah. In this world, you can move with NFV in very small digestible pieces.
Barrier is maybe a too strong word. I think, I don't think that there are really any showstoppers, but there is of course a number of larger and smaller issues that we have to resolve. One is orchestration across different domains and taking the legacy systems, legacy management systems into account. Yeah. That is quite a lot of work still to be done there, and I think Ericsson is very well positioned to solve that. Security is another one. Where there is still a lot of work to be done in for instance, the OpenStack area. If we look at more from an industry point of view, since we are now transitioning into a more software-based type of business, we need to work much more with open source and how that relates to traditional standardization that we have done in telecom for the past 25 years. And what we need to do is to find a really good model and a process how we combine those two, so that where we still guarantee that the network operators are part of the process and can influence the direction and set the requirements. And I think this is also one challenge that we are working on.
However, barriers and challenges remain both in terms of NFV technology and organizational change.
I think the biggest barriers that we see is the people and process changes in the telcos. And I think it's a classical organizational change aspect that we see, which does take time. It takes time because they have to still run their old systems, they have to keep the lights on. So how do we help carriers understand how do you build new virtualized based or virtualization based networks, interoperate with existing legacy networks, and over time migrate towards a pure virtual software defined technology. So It's a people process change, which sometimes is hard to start off, and any change of this magnitude is hard. But we are starting to see operators, I mean, you look at large operators, they are starting to make conscious efforts in making these changes. So the change is coming. That part of the change we see it slightly slower because we are a vendor, we are on the technology side, but the carriers themselves have acknowledged, and we are seeing this, and it will happen. I think, but in my personal opinion, that is probably the slow pace moving change that will be taking the longest.
It's always easy to focus on the benefits of a transformation, but any transformation is a change, and change is hard. Here we have transformations in terms of the equipment infrastructure, in terms of the operating systems, in terms of the people and procedures, the staffing involved. So there are lots of changes that are all conflating together as the industry proceeds here. So how everybody moves through and which changes they tackle first, I think that's something the industry is going to work through as it evolves over time.
Well, they've worked a lot on the network functions. The next thing that's got to happen is BSS, OSS, business support systems, operational support systems, and I brought up orchestration earlier, orchestrating across all these legacy systems. So I think the next big thing to work on and to surmount, as you say, is this BSS, OSS orchestration area. One of our proof of concepts is in that exact area. We bring in our Telcordia acquisition to automate that, and I think that's one way that we really could see the progress on the network side be equaled by the management side. So I would expect to see more activity in that area and addressing it, as you say, as a barrier that could slow things down if it's not addressed well.
There are a couple of things that are very important. One is cultural, organizational aspects. Networking companies, all networking companies, I mean, operators, vendors, system integrators, you name it, are based in the architecture of a network made of boxes that are connected by cables.
Yeah.
And now we have to start thinking about how. Well, we are blurring the limits of the boxes, and we are even blurring some of the cables because they became they could become virtual as well. Mm. And now we have to organize around that. And this is a huge change for all of us, including internally and externally, because the relationship between an operator and a vendor, or operator and system integrator, a vendor and a value-added reseller, whatever, it's going to change because everything will be. It's not that clear as I send you the box inside the.
Yeah.
This is one thing, and this is extremely important, and we are still facing it, and we are internally, at least, I can tell you that in the big corporations, it's being slow, frankly.
Yeah.
Second thing, and this equally important, that is something that reminds me. Some time ago, there was a very good commercial on TV that there was people that were showing how difficult things were could become when making changes to a running IT infrastructure, and they were showing that it was like building a plane at the time it was flying. Well, that's our problem. We have to build our plane while it is flying because we cannot stop the network to say, well, let's stop the network for 1 week, and the next week it will become fully virtual. We have to do it, and we have to find ways of dealing with heterogeneity. We have to find ways to looking for the reconciling what is now our physical network and what is going to be our virtual network. And again, there is a lot of things to do there, and a lot of hurdles that we have to deal with. They are technical and economical.
Big job, but we're getting there.
Big fun.
Diego Lopez, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you.